First of all, dobre utra. How is my accent? Good, dobre utra. I tried to learn also how are you, but then it became a bit advanced. By the end of the day, I'll be speaking a bit more. I also know na zdrowie and one more. Spasiba. Yeah, thanks for that. Okay, folks. So good morning. Welcome to my session. As you can see, my name is Leonardo. I'm very glad to be here. It's sunny outside. It reminds my hometown. Even though I'm coming from Dublin, actually I'm from Brazil, very far from Belarus. It's a really pleasure being here. And today I would like to share some of my notes while I worked in environments using SAFe. So it was, I'll just cover the next slide. Just quickly, just show of hands, have you ever worked with Scrum, XP, Kanban, FDD, or something like that, that you have experience? Just hands up, show of hands. Have you ever worked in a scaled environment? 1 year or less, just, you can put down, keep the hands up. If you work between more than 1 year, more than 2 years, keep the hands up. 3+, more than 3. So we have a few folks. Great. First of all, just to set the context is, currently I'm coming from Dublin, I work in Dublin. Currently I help teams, individuals, teams, and organizations to have better environments and what I call productive environments, and to develop solutions that matters. That's my goal as a professional. You're gonna see, if you see my LinkedIn and so on, I'm also a SAFe program consultant, but I just did it for business reasons. You won't see someone selling SAFe in here. And you're gonna see that I have strong opinions about SAFe. Okay, so just to set stage, I'm not selling SAFe. I'm not SAFe, even if it's good or bad. I'm just giving some notes that I've realized. My experience is in the financial market, where I would even bet that most of you have a product of that company, one of the companies, into your wallets, in your pockets. I won't mention the brand. And for sure, if you brought something abroad, you also use one server of the other company that I worked for. So it's really, they are really big companies. And my first question is, why we should scale? Should we scale in a situation like that? With teams in there? Scaling is not about this. What about that? Should we scale in a situation like this? Not really. It's neither this. So why should we scale? We should scale in a situation like that, where we need to have alignment between the strategy, the tactics, and the operation. Chris Long mentioned about tactics, operation, strategy at the beginning in the keynote, but looking in terms of the org structure is pretty much this. Strategy, programs we're going to be talking about tactics, and teams of teams operation. So we need to have alignment across these vertically, but whenever we see our value stream, it has like a cross dependency among the departments that we can also read as a silos. So whenever we have cross dependencies in a value stream, that's the moment that we should be looking at. To deliver some product, to deliver a solution, we need people. I'm in front of this. Sorry about, can you see it? So to deliver a product, a solution, you need many people involved from different departments. And that's the moment, how do we build something, concise, purposeful, if we have too many people involved? And that's the moment that we should be thinking in scale. In SAFe, in the case, they say, okay, whenever you reach 50+ people until 100, up to 125, then that's the moment you should be scaling. More than that, we even should break down. So what is SAFe? SAFe is called an Scaled Agile Framework. I can compare here. We're going to have another talk after mine about less. You can even learn about less. But SAFe is in a bucket with other frameworks like less, like Nexus, Scrum at Scale. Even Spotify became I wouldn't call it framework, but a model that people are using to scale. But they are there. Here you can see now version 1 just released the latest one, which is the 13th State of Agile Report. You can see what are the most used frameworks in the market at the moment. So, and you can see that SAFe, well, I think that you can't see here, but SAFe is here. In this latest report, it's even above 29%, it's 30, 31, or something like that. If you compare to the others, it's been like the most used one. So that's, you're going to see a lot of talks about SAFe. What is SAFe? There we go, simple, isn't it? Easy, I like that, easy. For those who possibly you are used with Scrum, right? Most of us know about Scrum. Do you know how many core elements does Scrum have? Question for those who are doing certification as well. How many core elements does Scrum have? More. Five events. Almost 11. Okay, 11 core elements in Scrum. See the big picture here. This is called the full SAFe. There's no official number. However, I try to count. It's roughly 60 elements in here. So you compare from 11 to 60, how much more complex it is to scale or to use a framework like this. It's not just 6 times more complex, probably it's way more, it's exponential. So, but most of the companies, they buy it, the full SAFe. But actually, what usually is implemented is this, the essential SAFe, which just covers, I have a slide after that, this is the essential SAFe, but we are talking about 30 plus elements here, just half, which is a lot. Which is going to cover pretty much the tactics, which is programs, and teams of teams operational. Hopefully, you may reach the strategic layer, but most of the implementations, they're going to just stop, or not stop, but they will probably be here in between operational and tactics. Okay? But here is just plotting why we should scale and why do we have SAFe in here. And then going to, here's just to exemplify the essential SAFe. And I had experience in those organizations, most in this situation. In one of them, we were just evolving to the third level to using strategy as well. And now, I would like to share 5 notes. What are those notes? If you search about SAFe, pros and cons, you can find loads of things. A lot of them will overlap. What I try to do and bring here are some of I experienced, and if I knew upfront, would have helped me out to better adopt SAFe, to help the organization to adopt SAFe. And those are the ones that I would like to share with you all. The first one, PI planning. First, do you know what a PI planning is? Possibly, if you haven't used SAFe at all, possibly it's hard to know. It stands for Program Increment Planning. And just comparing, I think most of you know Scrum. Think about a big sprint planning at a release level. That's the idea. So I will have a big sprint planning, what we call PI plannings. And teams will plan within that event what we're going to deliver in a period of time, what they call PI, product increment. So think about a big sprint planning of teams. Usually we do this collocated, and if you can do it collocated, it's brilliant. You get more of that. I've seen having people. I used to fly to US every 3 months for this event, and it's really cool. It's really awesome what we can do with people within the same space. And we struggle a lot when we have distributed teams and try to use video conferencing and so on. That's very hard. So if you can have the opportunity to bring everybody, this first point, collaboration, it's going to be way better. In terms of the objective of this event is to have everybody on the same page, right? Bring transparency. We should scale because we have a lot of dependencies, right? That's pretty much the idea with a lot of parts of the company. Having those dependencies, let's bring everybody together, let's discuss what are the dependencies, so I know that I need you to deliver my part, but you know that you need to deliver by sprint 3, otherwise I can finish by sprint 6 what I have to do. It's this kind of conversation it's good for the PI planning. And what I like here the most and I've seen working is it forced prioritization at higher up levels. We were in PI plannings what product managers brought one line of one line in a spreadsheet saying that's what we need to deliver in this quarter. And we have a bunch of people, like possibly the same amount of this audience in a room. Imagine how much costly it was, that event. It's really costly. And it caused a lot of troubles. But it's an evolving model where the next time they prepare much more upfront. Everything in SAFe is based on economic view. Every decision that we make should have an economic view. And what I haven't seen working in any environment that I had experienced is this idea of let's calculate the cost of delay of things that we will develop. There's a lot of hypo and LVD in that. Do you know what a hypo and LVD stands for? For sure. Possibly we have a lot of this in Brazil. You are lucky here, you don't have in Belarus. It's hypo prioritization means for the highest paid person opinion that will define the prioritization. And LVD stands for the lowest voice dominates. That's the person who prioritizes. And SAFe comes with the idea, no, forget about that. Let's have an economic view and prioritize by something that we can quantify. So in terms of environments that I've been there, they try to have fixed scope. And the whole point of this event is not to have fixed scope, but instead to find the cross-dependencies that I mentioned and to have a forecast. What we think that we believe or we think that we can deliver within that period of time. Usually it's between 2 or 3 months. We have to have some level of certainty, but this scope shouldn't be fixed. For me, the main outcome that we can have in this event is to try to identify the cross-dependencies. This is a board example, where you can see here a lot of dependencies. Those strings, pretty much each post-it is a team, and the other post-its here are features that we depend on each other. By looking at here, you can see, well, we may have troubles. And what I haven't seen people asking is questions like that. And I start asking questions like that. To have everybody within the room, because we faced situations where we start planning, we identified like 5 or 10 dependencies with other teams, and then ask, oh, what team is this one, with this part? Oh, they are in the first floor. But why are they not here? What is the purpose of this meeting? So having everybody in that event is important. How can we have less dependencies? So decrease complexity. And can we have smaller PIs or smaller sprints? The same idea of smaller sprints, shorter PIs. That would be great. Other thing is, when we are talking about scaling environments, we are talking about bigger corporations. And we can't escape from the idea of people. There will be turnovers, people joining and people leaving. That happens. That's reality, unless I'm the only unluckiest person in this room. But this rotation happens. So ongoing training, it is important. It's very hard. I would just ask you, I don't have my timer here. If someone can help me out, the timer, just I can see my time here. If you can just take a look. So if you, to have these people, I've seen like the teams of development spending 2 or 3 days. This event is usually 2 to 3 days within a room, and they had no clue what they were doing that. Imagine you, 3 days in a room, having no clue what's going on. It's what a waste of time. So training will give the idea of why. Why are you doing that? What is the purpose of that? And this should happen with teams, but also with leadership and stakeholders, because they have a lot of influence on what is happening in that environment. And I will cover more of that. How many of you here are Scrum Masters or Agile coaches and that are helping to scale? Okay, few, several. One of the things that we found, community of practice are very powerful for this kind of, let's keep the people trained and know what's going on. This is an example that we did in one of the companies, where we create our own user story, and based on our goal as a community, we start having ideas. It's very hard to see the post-its here, but ideas of how we could fulfill this user story. So we had a user story, some acceptance criteria, and how we can fulfill that. So we did it. Use this as a lab, share knowledge, and to help out. What I say, an army is stronger than one soldier. So get together and work together. Long lead times. Do you know what lead time stands for? Lead time? No? Yes? So it's the period that we start a work and finish work. That's the lead time. PIs, product increments, these big sprints, they have typically between 8 to 12 weeks. We're talking about 2 to 3 months, correct? What I've seen happen is, a PI is like a sprint. What should happen at the end of the sprint? We should have a potential releasable increment, a piece of software working. The idea of PI should be the same. However, frequently happens is, we stop development here, but other things happen afterwards. So it's like we are in another train. By the way, the term that they use for PIs are agile release trains, the period of 2 months to 3 months that you're going to be developing something. They call it release trains, ARTs. Whenever an art finished, it should be finished, 100% finished. You shouldn't have like work afterwards. This will bring unplanned work to your next train, to your next sprint, and this will cause loads of troubles. Believe me, a lot of unplanned work will cause chaos. And one thing that we really forgot whenever we adopting SAFe is the technical excellence. It's one of the core elements here in SAFe. It's just here. It is. In a scaled environment, if you don't focus to have like technical excellence and focus on automation, DevOps, which is the shift left stuff, it's going to be very hard to have an increment by the end of PI. You have a lot of troubles that people breaking code, stopping the other part of the other teams, and so on. So focusing on technical excellence, it is a must. You can have the best process in the world, but if you don't have the technical excellence to support that, you will never be agile. So tech folks here, usually it's, yeah, we need to focus on that. Leaders are servant leaders. In an environment like that, in these images, I did on purpose in here, rather than, it's a scaled environment, it's very complex. Rather than telling people what to do, the leaders now should support the teams. How? So it's more like, oh, you should do that. No, instead of that, it's more, what are the problems that you are facing that I can help out to remove? In a scaled environment, you have big constraints that are outside of the team boundaries, that they are not able to fix because it's bigger, it's greater than that. And leadership needs to help out to remove these constraints, okay? And that's what I say, that we need to support and guide rather than to do command and control. I've just been, this is organization constraints. We just mentioned in the slides before. Whenever we identify too many dependencies, this is a constraint. How can we have, for example, throughout a PI planning, we can ask, okay, how can we have the last dependencies in this piece of work? Perhaps if we have Pedro in our team for this PI, will help us out to sort out that problem, right, Pedro? give you an example. So, but Pedro is working in a different team, in a different department. It's very hard that the team itself will be able to solve this constraint. So leadership usually can jump in and help out in these kind of things, in problems that are in a greater order of magnitude. So there will be dysfunctions. If you adopt Agile, a lot of problems will appear, and leadership has an important role to help out to remove those constraints. That's the point. One thing here, release trains. Release engineers, RTs. Do you know what RTE stands for? We have so many acronyms in SAFe. RTE well, you can understand as a chief scrum master. It's the scrum master of this big sprint, okay? And if you remember those 3 levels, the RTE works a lot in the second level in between the operational and the strategic. So the RTE is in a strategic position for the entire environment to work. And that's what I say is, choose it carefully. And now I'm gonna be a bit harsh in terms with SAFe, and I can put myself, because I'm just got the SPC badge, to be just by attending a training of 2-day training or 3-day training won't give you all the information, all the knowledge that you need to be an effective RTE. You have to build up your skills. And as it's a key role, choose carefully, because things can happen. We shouldn't rely on one person in one role only, but I see that role very strategic to succeed adopting SAFe. It has a lot of impact in layers and contact with different people, so RTEs are important. SPCs are people that you may bring to your environments to help out in this adoption. And here I see a very downside of SAFe. They claim to have 400,000 consultants around 110 countries in the world. I did their formation, and I can guarantee that by being an SPC, and if there's anyone in the room, forget it, I'm saying with my experiences, it doesn't guarantee that I have knowledge. It's a 4-day training, you do an exam at the end, and after that, you are SPC. And the exam is not that hard, being very honest. So it's part of the process, the learning process, but go beyond that to choose your RTEs and SPCs. Very important to that. And the other part is that I really like SAFe. That's for me one of the best things that we have in SAFe is the work allocation. How many of you here work in a project-based approach where we have a project, we get people, and we allocate to that project? Whenever that project finishes, we have another project and we allocate to another project. How many of you work in something like that? Oh, just a few. You are the luckiest ones here. By having that, we are always having the storming of creating new teams. And I'm pretty sure that there will be some key roles within there that will be shared between projects. And that's the problem, where the problem starts. And the idea of SAFe is you don't found the teams, you don't found projects, you start founding teams, long-lived teams. So we have a team, and now rather than be moving us around, the work will come to us. So we are stable, we can evolve as a team, the growth as a team we can become more mature throughout the time. We won't be always storming by having new people leaving, people joining. And that's what I like. And then we stop. One thing that bothers me a bit is calling knowledge workers like us as a resource of projects. And we are people, knowledge workers, and so we allocate the work to the teams. And here's the example. I can use, sorry, can you see it? So that's usually the model that I just explained, where we have projects, we have skills, and then we try to allocate people based on the skills, and then we can usually have some people that will be shared between projects. I'm pretty sure that you are luckier than me, but working like the Dev 2 and the Dev 3, it's a nightmare. I was a dev in the past, and I felt that, and it's awful. Okay? And the new model that SAFe proposes is say, look, we have this team, they are stable. If we have work, let's just bring work to the teams. And that's what I really like with SAFe. I also have some bonus notes. Those are the short ones. We can talk about lots of things. Remember, we have 60 elements. We can spend the entire week here talking. But those are the ones that it would help me out. It would have helped me out in the past, and I'd like to share with you. But I will give you some bonus ones. SAFe, you're going to see a lot of controversial opinions in the market. Some people love, possibly much more hate it. A lot of people will say that it's not agile. I possibly agree. But what I say, in some big companies like financials, they need some structure, a heavier structure. And what I advise is, you can use SAFe, but use this as a framework. What is the difference between a framework and a methodology? A methodology is something that we create, and if I follow that steps, I'm going to get some outcome. And if someone of you take the same methodology and applies in our context, you're going to get the same outcome. Does it work? Does it work like this in IT, in software development? Usually not. So use as a framework, pin some things that could work, experiment. The word is experiment, or inspection and adaptation. Do it frequently. Start with that. Does it work with me, in my context? Nice. It doesn't work. Try to change, try to experiment new things. Use this as a framework. This is possibly a very strong message for us, regardless of the framework, of the approach that you take, regardless. Nothing of this will do the hard work for you. We will need to do the hard work. And I'm a fan of experimentation, empirical model. Let's try, let's learn with that, and let's decide the next step. So not a single framework will do the heavy lifting for you. Forget about that. And I can give you your opinion later on about that. But regardless of framework, it won't make the miracle for you. And one thing that I usually say, and here is another advice, is if you have a problem, any problem that we have, not just in software development, any problem in your life, and you scale it, what are you going to have? You have a problem, and you scale a problem. You're going to have a huge problem, a much bigger problem, right? So my idea, if you still are facing issues with the basics, just fix the basics, take the idea in there, and then scale up. Why? This is a real situation. This happened in Brazil. If you just have a problem and you scale this problem without, or scale something without a good foundation, possibly you're going to end up in a situation like this. Okay? So if you are scaling up, you realize that you have problems, descale, fix it, and they scale back up. And that's it, folks. Thank you. So we have time for questions, right?
Thank you. Right now we have 5 minutes for questions, so if you have any, please ask. So any questions here? Oh, wait a second.
Hello.
Hello.
So I would like to ask, maybe you will share some advice how to avoid PI overlaps.
Sorry, how to go to a PI?
How to skip or avoid PI overlaps.
Oh, the overlaps between PIs?
Yeah.
My opinion is the idea of shift left, which is now it's known as the DevOps movement. Unless you have these capabilities where, at the end, for example, a PI is possibly between 4 or 6 sprints. At the end of every sprint, we should have a piece of software working but integrated with all of the teams. To have that, you need to have some infrastructure in place, capabilities that will help you out to test quickly, to deploy quickly, things like that, which I call the DevOps. And you should have these gates throughout your PI. What I've seen the most is the teams develop during the 6 sprints, and then, oh, now we finished development. And then they start another train, another sprint, and then regression starts, and then we go to a higher environment, and then we go to UAT, and then whenever we are going to production, we are almost ending the next sprint. So unless you have technical, what I call technical excellence, in terms of can we deliver an integrated piece of work each sprint, if your answer is no, you still have some work to do. And in SAFe, they have one thing that they call system demo, and I've tried to introduce it, and it was very painful, which is we have our sprint review, which is the work that we as a team did in the sprint, but then we go to the system demo, which is going to do the review of the integrated piece with all the teams. And if we don't do that, you never see the problem. So first of all, to start doing the system demo, and if you are going to the system demo, you have nothing to show, then here you have your problem that you have to fix. And DevOps, for me, it's the approach to take.
Any
Did I
other
answer your question?
Yep. Any other questions? So I don't see any hands, so please, thank you to Leonardo.
Thank you, folks, for your attention. Thank you.